Alrighty guys, today we're going to talk about telling time in Spanish. It's one of those things that you think would be really easy, but it's not. So we're going to go over it real fast together and just see if we can't make sense of all this. So if you notice first when we asked the question que hora es, we are using the verb ser. We went over this in class, so we're going to go over it quickly, how to conjugate ser. Alright. So, first things first, let's conjugate it up here. So we have I am, soy. You are, eres. He, she, it is, es. We are, somos. Y'all are, sois. And they are, son. Sorry, I just had to pause my recording so I could sneeze. Anyway, so these are the verb ser conjugated out. Remember, ser is an irregular verb, so it does not conjugate like the normal ER verbs would. All right, so we're using this verb to tell what time it is. Okay, so let's start by just drawing a clock on here. We're going to use 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, the average clock, no big deal, nothing too confusing about that, right? Except everything, it's about to get weird. Okay, so on a piece of paper, I would suggest you just write this down because this is going to be something that is super, super helpful for you as you learn to be able to tell a time, because in class, we're going to start telling time in Spanish. You know it now, so there's no reason to use the English, okay? This is going to get super messy. So if you watch this and you have a confusion question, just feel free to ask me in class later if you wrote it down correctly. All right. Also, if I hear it wrong, I'll let you know. Okay. So let's do these in different colors. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the hour. So up here we have the number 1, uno, but in Spanish, because time is feminine, we're going to say una. Down here we have dos, tres, cuatro, T before the R, cuatro, cinco, seis, siete, ocho, nueve, 10, 11, and finally 12. All right, those are the hours. So it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4, okay? Now let's talk about the minutes. The minutes is where things start to get a little bit weird. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and write in the minutes for the right side of the clock, all right? So after 12, after you hit the hour, anything in between on this side, so between the 12 and the 6, is going to be what we call, or what we're going to say is on the positive side of the clock, all right? So we go to the 1, that is cinco, 5 minutes. That's how we do it in English. It's by fives, 5, 10, 10. Once we get to the 3, we could say 15, but there's a more simple way, a way we use in English quite often, quarter past. All right, so we're going to do cuarto. All right, notice how I said when we went to cuatro, the T comes before the R, and cuarto means quarter, the R comes before the T. All right, that's really important because those two words can easily get confused. So make sure, at least when you're spelling it, I mean, I still say it wrong. It happens. It's hard. It's a tongue twister. So make sure you're spelling it correctly. Okay, R before T for quarter, T before R, and cuatro, and number 4. All right. Down here in the numbers, we have 20. That means 20. Here we'll have 20, 25. And then at the 30 mark, at number 6, we are going to just do half past. All right, so we had quarter past. Now we're going to do half past, and that is media. Media. All right, that's an E. Okay. So let's work on writing those out. I really wish I had a typing thing on this because that would make things a lot easier. All right, so let me just erase this for us real fast. so that we can use this half. Okay, so before the 6, from 12 until the 6, it's going to be positive, all right? So let's do, in blue. So if I have 105, first things first, 1 is singular. That means we're going to use the singular third person, which, if you remember, is S. And like I said, time is going to be feminine because it's la hora, la hora. So es la, and you can think of it as es la hora, but we're not going to put that in, just es la una. All right? It is 1. Now we want to put that and 5 in there. So E, meaning and then if we look over here, we have cinco. All right, so 105 is es la una y cinco. It is 1 and 5. All right, anything past 1 o'clock, we're going to change the S up just a little bit. All right, so if we do 3:15, instead of S, because that's singular, 3 is plural. All right, son las. All right, so we're just pluralizing S and la. Son las. And then we'll look over here, we have tres. Son las tres. And then again, because it is positive, E, and 15, cuarto. All right? 3:15, son las tres y cuarto. All right? So, for that time between right here and right here, the minutes are going to have E and the same hour. So 3 and 3, 1 and una. All right? They're going to stay the same. After the 6, things start getting a little different. All right? So to visualize this, we're going to essentially mirror half of the clock. All right? So after media, we have 25 here. We're going to put 25 here. Whoops. All right. And then we have 20 up here. We're going to put 20 here. Everything that's on this side is going to be mirrored on this side. All right. So 10 up here and then 5 right here. Think of it as this. Okay, let me erase this really fast so we can draw some more. Starting here, we have en punto. It's this o'clock, okay? And we have 5 after, 10 after, 15 after, or quarter after, 20 after, 25 after, half after, or like half of, 30 after. After this point, we're going to start talking about the next hour. So it is 25 before, 20 before, quarter before, 10 before, 5 before, and then you're back at the new hour. All right? With that in mind, let me show you how to do the other half of the clock. Okay. So, if I'm going to do, for instance, 2:40, I'm going to start out just like I did the other side. We have son las. And now it says 2 here, but instead of thinking of it as 40 after 2, you're going to think of it as 20 until 3. Because of that, we have 2, but we're going to skip to the next hour. So we have dos, we're going to the next hour. So son las tres. And then, so if it's at 40, there's 20 minutes until 3. Okay? So you're at 2:40, but there's 20 minutes until 3. So son las tres menos, minus those 20 minutes. 20. All right? So 2:40 is going to be son las tres menos 20. All right? This is the same way if we do, for instance, 9:45. We start out like usual, son las. we're at the 9, but we want to go the next hour. 10 menos 45. So we're at the 9, 45 minutes. Cuarto. All right, son las 10 menos cuarto. Let's talk about if you mess that up a little bit, okay? What it will look like. All right, so let's say that instead of saying son las 10 menos cuarto, you say son las 9 menos cuatro. So if we take that out and you say 9 instead, if you got confused, I will write this in number form. So I see son las 9 menos cuarto. That's going to be 8:45 to me. Because you're saying it's 9 o'clock minus 15 minutes, minus a quarter of the clock, right? So that would make it 8:45. If you have this 10 here, you're saying it's 10 o'clock minus 15 minutes, which would be 9:45. I know it's confusing. I know it's like a lot to handle and your brain wants to die because of all of the math you're going to have to do in your head, but it almost starts to make sense after a little while, okay? So you got to just kind of get used to that idea of doing math all of the time, okay? So that being said, you should have a homework in OneNote that tells you how to do this. It shows you how to do all of, or not shows you how, but has you practice that. Go ahead and practice those for me and let me know if you have any questions, and I'll check over them as well. In the meantime, let's do one more together. So I want to say 4:50. Once again, so try and do this before I say them. So the 4 is going to do the next hour. So if we're at 4, next hour up, 5 o'clock. Son las 5. So it's the next hour, and then because we're saying minus 10 minutes, it's menos. And then there's 10 minutes until 5, okay? So 10. So think of it backwards if you have to. If you have to write it backwards, think 10 minutes until 5. All right, so don't look at this 50 minutes after 4. Think of it as 10 minutes until 5. So just to recap, before this halfway point in the middle, we have E. After, it's menos. All right, it's son las for everything except uno or una. Una is going to be es la because it's singular. Then everything else is son las. All right, hopefully that helps you out as you're doing your homework. And like I said, if not, we can always go over it again in class. It will be a quick review in la mañana. All right, good luck, buena suerte.